Hey there, welcome to the One Brain Four Wheels channel. It's the Gare Bear here like always, and today we're working on the Fiero GT, and I'm going to show you guys how to fix your broken antenna. That's right. Specifically, if you actually have a broken antenna mount here in your Fender. So let's go ahead and get started on this. So looking at the new Fiero here, you'll notice there's no antenna currently. And that's because if you look a little closer, you'll actually see that the post in there that the antenna screws onto, you can kind of see there, is actually been broken off inside. And if you kind of use this as a comparison, this actually came off of the old Fiero. The post right there should be coming up nice. And on here you can see it's just broken right off. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to actually remove enough of the fender on the passenger side to be able to access the antenna mount and go ahead and replace it. So let's go ahead and get started by going over what tools we're going to need for this job. Coming over to the old Fiero, where I have all my tools laid about still, the tools you're going to need for this job is going to be a 10mm socket, a 7mm socket, a socket wrench. Some needle nose pliers will be helpful when disconnecting the antenna cable from the antenna mount, as well as one of these little screwdriver things for sockets, and a T15 star bit there. And that should be all the tools you're going to need to go ahead and complete this job. So let's go back to the other Fiero, the Fiero GT, the new one in the garage, and get started on this. Alright, so to actually access the antenna mount within this fender of the Fiero, you actually have to undo quite a few bolts. But it's actually pretty simple, so let's get started. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 up here on the top. And then you need to go ahead and unbolt some of these screws here underneath the wheel well liner. And once you do that, then go ahead and unbolt your side blinker here. And you should, after all those things are removed, be able to go ahead and slide this whole upper part of the panel, because this upper part is separate starting here from the bottom. You should be able to slide all this slightly forward. Once you do that, you can go ahead and free up this front corner, and this should all be able to bend back just enough away from the frame of the car, where you can then access this guy, which will be bolted down here, like this, so. Where you can go ahead and disconnect the cable and remount your new one. So working our way right down the line, these first 4 bolts up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are going to be the 10mm, and this one down there, which you kind of have to access by pushing this the hood forward a little bit, and then going ahead and utilizing this little screwdriver end thing with your 7mm. So this is the 7mm. These other 4 are 10mm. Go ahead and unscrew those. Then let's go ahead and remove this guy with the T15 bit on both ends. And I'm sorry about the extra background noise, everyone. They are doing construction up the hill from my house, so it's a little noisy. But now with those upper screws or bolts removed, let's go ahead and focus our attention to all the ones that are remaining attaching to that fender from the wheel well liner. Now on my old Fiero, I had quite a few, and they were actually a little 7mm bolt heads, whereas on this new Fiero, it's missing quite a few of them, and they're actually just Phillips screws. But originally they should be 7mm screws. Let's go ahead and remove those, and that should be everything that's actually holding that fender in place, keeping us from bending it apart. I do want you guys to note, though, that there is a part of the passenger, or both sides of the fender, but the passenger fender, the edge that kind of leads down by the door, you're not going to be freeing all the bolts that hold that, because apparently that's held in with the rocker panel as well, and that involves rivets, and I don't really want to deal with that. So note that this procedure will not allow you to remove the fender in totality, but it will allow you to free up enough where you can bend it without ruining the paint or the plastic, enough where you can access the antenna. So let's go ahead, I'm going to remove those little screws that I've got on my car, and then I'll show you guys how to bend it back and actually access the antenna mount. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that turning your wheels does help you actually get better access to some of these screws, so while that may not be common sense to everyone, definitely a helpful pro tip to get into some of these tighter areas where a wrench may have a little bit more difficulty accessing. So I was actually looking around at this and decided against actually removing that last corner bolt down there, and if you guys can see it down there, right back in there. Decided against it because I realized that just removing these first 4 bolts up here actually gives me enough room to go ahead and watch. With everything else below removed, those screws, go ahead and pull back a little bit, and it's going to kind of pop out because there are retaining clips on this car. Let's see if I can do it one-handed. Maybe not. This literally just pops off. All right, and just like that, you guys have access to the antenna mounting bracket, or the mount. So I can go ahead and go in here with my hands and pull it all out. And I'm actually going to go ahead, so I have a little bit more access to the cable. I'm going to go ahead and fish it down here along the side body gap. And if I do that, let's try this one double-handed. You can see this gives me a lot more leeway. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is use the needle nose pliers and attach right there and go ahead and pull the cable for the antenna off of this mounting plate. And by using the needle nose pliers on that metal end there, it'll actually keep me from pulling the cable and the wires right out and ruining that whole wire. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, free this up. I'll go ahead and connect the new one back on, and then do everything in reverse and put the car back together. All right, and just like that, the antenna is put back to normal, and you can't even tell there's anything wrong with the car, can ya? Looks pretty good to me, nice and solid, and the reception is perfect. So now the car is back to normal. But anyhow, that's that for that job. As you guys can see, the old Fiero is now antennaless. Poor baby. But you are giving your life and your whatever you've got remaining on you to the new girl outside, and so for that, you know, we'll never forget you. Still love this car, still hope I can find someone that wants to go ahead and actually turn it into a living, breathing Fiero once again. But yeah, anyhow, back to the project at hand. I hope you guys found the video helpful. It really isn't that hard to replace the antenna. I looked online on some of the forums, and some people made it sound a little bit more difficult to remove that that front passenger fender, or any of the front fenders. They made it sound a little bit more difficult than it actually is. It's really just a few bolts, and that whole fender can come off really easily. It's pretty nice. One thing also to note, when I was taking off the antenna cable connector off of the old car, that came off very easily. However, when I was disconnecting the antenna mount from the antenna wire in the new Fiero, that one was actually really kind of on there pretty tight. I think it might have a little bit of corrosion that was holding the two bits of metal together. So it did take a little bit more force, but I did read the words of caution from people online about not pulling on that cable, because you will just pull the wires right out, and then you have to run a whole new wire from the back of the radio to the front of the car, and that's annoying. It's a lot more work. Maybe try to use a little bit of WD-40 on that connection before using the needle nose pliers to go ahead and kind of pull it off nice and firmly. But other than that, this is, like I said, a really easy project, something you guys can do at home very easily. Doesn't really take any money. I actually have the parts already from this car, but otherwise you would just need to buy a new used or new old stock antenna mount. But yeah, if you guys found the video helpful and you're really loving the new project car on the channel, then please give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. The channel would really appreciate it. It'll help get a little bit more views and get it on the search a little bit easier, having more likes, so I would really appreciate it, guys. Definitely, I'm liking the way this car is turning out so far as not being a problem child like this one was. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day. If you want to see more videos of me doing things with the new Fiero, the 2016 Corvette, the 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokee, the 2003 Suburban, or the 1977 Cadillac Eldorado, that is a lot of cars. Please subscribe to the channel. One brain, four wheels. And until next time, guys, have a fantastic day. Thank you so much once again for watching.